Hey guys, me Samurai3, and guess what? We're doing more baking, because why not? And even though summer's just begun and we've got months until harvest comes, we're making a pumpkin recipe. It 100% has nothing to do with the fact that we have like 20 jars of canned pumpkin upstairs that we need to use up because, you know, homemade canned goods are only good for like a year. No, nothing to do with that at all. Anyways, joking aside, I love this recipe. My family loves this recipe. We've been making it for years and years and years and years and years. It's just so good. Anyways, this is super simple. I just have a whisk because that's really all you need to make this is a measuring cup and a whisk. It is quite easy on equipment. So first thing we are going to do is take one of our jars of pumpkin, and I need to open it with one hand. This ain't gonna work. So that way we can get along with the recipe. Also, I lied. I just read a little further ahead in the instructions, and I guess you can do it by hand, but I'm not going to. And this is why you read ahead, because your memory will undoubtedly fail you, kids. So for our first step, we need to put our 3 eggs into the bowl and beat them for 5 minutes. Now we have some air incorporated. It's time to put literally everything else in this bowl. Starting with 1 cup of sugar, 3/4 cup of flour, 3/4 cup of pumpkin, 1 to 1.5 teaspoons ground cinnamon, 1 teaspoon baking powder, 1 teaspoon ground ginger, 1/2 teaspoon salt, and 1/2 teaspoon ground nutmeg. Also, I know we beat a bunch of air into these eggs, and technically, to keep the air, we should fold this together, but the recipe doesn't say to do that. It says to mix, and I have literally never folded this in my life, and every time it turns out fine. So now, we mix until it's all combined, which isn't very long, honestly. The last thing we need to add to this batter is 1 teaspoon of lemon juice. And now we give it another quick mix. That's it, just make sure the lemon juice is nice and evenly distributed. And now for baking, you want to line a 15 by 10 inch rimmed baking sheet, obviously, with some parchment paper. The recipe says to grease the pan and the paper. We've literally never done that. So just make sure your parchment covers all of it and then dump your batter in. Just spread it out all the way to the sides and the corners. You just want this to be as even of a rectangle as possible. And of course, at last, you're going to take your 1 cup of chopped pecans and just sprinkle them as evenly as you can over top of the cake. We're then going to put it into a 375 degrees Fahrenheit preheated oven, and I trimmed the edges of the parchment paper just to be sure they wouldn't burn. It's been 15 minutes, and I think that's done. Ignore the hole I just put in with my glove. No one will notice that. Okay, you can see it springs back some when you press it. This is, of course, a very moist cake, so it will feel a little sticky, but a toothpick or cake tester should come out nice and clean. We are only going to let this cool in the pan for a few minutes. You don't want it to cool completely in the pan because it's a roll. We need to be able to roll it. So take those few minutes to get out either a kitchen towel or this is a bread cheese cloth thing, and you are going to rather generously dust it with powdered sugar. Now we've got our towel and kitchen thoroughly dusted with powdered sugar to prevent sticking as best as you can. You're going to lay this out over top of your cake roll and try and get one end to the actual end of the towel. You don't want to stick it in the middle. Remember, we have to roll this up and you don't want all that extra. You're going to very carefully, this is the scary part. All right, I made it in one piece. There is powdered sugar on absolutely everything. God, it's so sticky. And then of course, you want to gently remove the parchment paper. We're not wrapping up parchment here. Then you are going to carefully, starting at one end here, roll it up very carefully to keep it from cracking. If it does crack some, that's okay. It's not a big deal. We're just going to roll it up and form your little log, just like that. Now the instructions say to leave it until it's completely cool. I disagree. If you do that, it will crack to kingdom come, so just a little bit warm. And this is also a good time to set out your butter and cream cheese for the frosting because the filling is just a cream cheese frosting. Although I don't have any cream cheese. Someone is bringing me some, so just have to hope it's softened enough when the time comes. Okay. But while that is cooling everything, I don't think this is gonna be a good idea, but I want to try and make a gluten-free version of this. I kind of don't think this is gonna go very well because one, even though we didn't really develop the gluten in that, you still kind of need a little bit of it to, you know, hold the roll together while you roll it. And two, this flour is not exactly known to play nice with liquidy recipes. It will turn out often gooey and doughy and just kind of overall disgusting, so I don't have high hopes, but you know what? What have I got to lose? So, I am going to make a quarter batch, partly because I don't eat a lot of sugar, or at least I try not to, and I couldn't eat one of those whole things on my own even if I wanted to, so yeah. Basically, I'm just going to do the exact same thing you already saw me do, and yeah, it's just gonna be a little amount. I have obtained cream cheese. And just a note, when you leave this out to soften, make sure it's in a place your cat can't get because that's happened a few times. But anyways, this roll has been cooling for probably about 2 hours now. It might be a little overcooled, but it'll be fine. If it cracks, it cracks. No one cares. That's the important thing to mention. It's all gonna taste the same. But now it is time to make the filling. So here we have 6 ounces of cream cheese and 1/4 cup butter. And to that we are going to add 1 cup of powdered sugar and half a teaspoon vanilla extract. And that's the filling. And now the moment of truth, to unroll this very slowly and gently and see if it falls to pieces. It didn't crack. Yes! Just dump all this filling on here. Just give a nice, even spreading all over it, because no one wants to get a dry piece. Now it's about as even as it's gonna get. Time to do the nerve-wracking thing of slowly rolling it back up. This takes a lot of focus, and I don't feel like it should. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now I need your serving plate, and then gently roll it onto it. There we go, voila! We made a cake roll. All right. But we all knew that would work. I mean, it's just a cake roll. I'm surprised it didn't crack, but that just means I cooked it perfectly. It wasn't overcooked, because, you know, it gets a little dry. But anyways, the real question on our mind is, what about this gluten-free one? It feels like a solid log. I don't know if it's unrolling. And Sassy, you can't have dairy either. Well, I went ahead and whipped up some dairy-free cream cheese frosting. I used a vegan butter and a vegan cream cheese. I added a little extra sugar because it didn't quite taste that good. I'll be honest, it's pretty vegan cream cheese forward. I'm nervous, but we'll see. If this falls to pieces, it will be completely expected. Oh, it's not gummy. It's, what? You weren't supposed to work, why are you working? I mean, I'll take it, you know, you're not gonna see me complaining about getting a delicious cake roll. Also, I just realized, I don't know why I got a plate. This thing's so small. Now to carefully roll this back up. Because see, it essentially steams itself in the towel. Oh, it's pushing that frosting out. Just gotta stick it in the dish. I am just beyond shocked that this worked. I don't know how it's gonna taste, but I guess we'll see. I want to give the frosting a chance to set up, especially for this one. The other one you can technically serve at room temperature, but it's a refrigerated treat, so yeah, you can make these in advance too. That's another great thing. If you're making like a meal and, you know, or a big family dinner set, you can make this a day before. If it'll last that long. Well, I'd say it turned out okay, considering by the time I've been able to film this outro, the 2 slices I took just to get a good thumbnail shot have already been eaten, so. But we already knew something like this would be good. I mean, why wouldn't it be? It's freaking sugar and cake with cream cheese frosting. And pumpkin. What part of that does not sound delicious? I mean, this looks the same, right? I should take the plastic wrap off. Probably the reason it didn't turn to total, like, gooey mush like some of the other stuff I've made has is the fact that the moisture in this is from eggs, and eggs cooked and turned it solid. It's not like it has to evaporate like milk. This looks good. I'm surprised it worked, but time to see how it tastes. I think that's a pumpkin roll. It's been a long time since I had one. I taste the powdered sugar. It's, to be honest, it's like half of what I taste. I was expecting to end up with a crumbly mess I just dumped frosting on, and I ended up with a nice log. And it tastes like a pumpkin roll. I can also eat straight from the container because no one else is going to eat this but me. That was a big surprise. Okay, I mean, this is good. It's a great crowd pleaser, honestly. And fun fact, they're so good, I once made one to hold for ransom. My brother said he'd buy Xenoblade Chronicles 2 at launch, and then he didn't. So I said no pumpkin roll until he bought it. Oh man, I had to wait a month after launch to actually play it. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you make this, because if anything I've ever made I can recommend, it's this. I will see you in the next one later.